I want you to picture the scene here. It is a quiet, completely still night in the ancient city of Medina. The bustling day is ended, the markets are closed up, and the streets are incredibly peaceful. There are no streetlights, no cameras, no eyes watching. It's in this absolute stillness, wrapped entirely in the cover of darkness, that our historical account begins. This quiet atmosphere is crucial, really, because it acts as the absolute perfect canvas for a deed that was entirely meant to be kept in the dark.
As we transition into the core of our story, we observe a lone figure. While the rest of the city is fast asleep, this noble, incredibly humble man walks quietly through the dark. He isn't carrying gold or anything flashy, he's carrying a small sack of food on his shoulder, deliberately seeking out the families in the absolute greatest need. Now, what's really interesting about this is the deliberate, almost stealth-like routine he followed every single night. Step 1, he walks quietly, making absolutely sure he doesn't wake a single soul. Step 2, he gently leaves bags of basic, life-sustaining provisions, flour and dates, right at the front doors of these poor families. And step 3, which is perhaps the most difficult step of all, he walks away before ever being seen. He completely removes himself from the transaction before it's even discovered.
And right here is where we get to the absolute core of how hidden acts reward souls. He never knocked on the door. He never waited around in the shadows to hear them say thank you or to catch a glimpse of the relief on their faces. Why? Because his actions weren't about feeding his own ego. As our source material clearly highlights, he wanted only Allah's pleasure. By removing human recognition from the equation entirely, he elevated a simple physical act of delivering flour and dates into a profound, monumental spiritual triumph.
Now, imagine the complete shift in energy as the sun comes up. The darkness fades, the city wakes up, and families who went to bed hungry open their doors to literally find a miracle sitting right on their doorstep. The profound surprise, the overwhelming relief, it must have been absolutely electric for these families. This brilliantly illustrates the vast contrast between the giver and the receiver. On one hand, you have the benefactor, operating in total, absolute silence, never knocking, seeking zero thanks. On the other, the families, waking up completely stunned, filled with joy, and left with this enduring sense of mystery, wondering day after day, who is doing this for us? The giver remains entirely in the shadows, while the receivers step out into the morning light, holding the literal fruits of his secret labor.
But here's the detail that truly elevates this historical account from a nice little anecdote into a legendary example of discipline. Years. This word right here is everything. This wasn't some one-time charitable event during a holiday, it wasn't a quick week-long campaign. For years, the people of Medina wondered who their secret helper was, and for years, absolutely no one knew his identity. I mean, just think about the steadfast, rock-solid commitment required to sustain that level of secrecy, fighting the natural human urge to take credit, year after year after year.
But of course, no human life lasts forever, and eventually the veil of secrecy had to be lifted. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. The secret help is delivered steadily, faithfully, for years. Then, a major event occurs in the community. Imam Zayn al-Abidin passes away. He was a highly respected, deeply loved figure. But immediately following his passing, something else happens. The nightly food deliveries abruptly stop. Nobody's bringing the flour and dates anymore. Which leads us to the morning after, when the community finally puts the pieces together. The sudden, silent cessation of the deliveries was literally the only clue that ever gave away his secret.
Only in his passing did the people finally discover the truth. The silent benefactor was Imam Ali ibn Husayn, famously known as Zayn al-Abidin, a man of immense standing and nobility who actively chose to act with such profound humility that his most generous deeds were kept completely, entirely hidden until his very last breath. He carried the physical weight of the food on his shoulders and the secret of his generosity in his heart, never once letting it slip.
Now that we've unraveled the mystery of who he was, let's transition into the deeper philosophical core of our explainer. What does this story actually teach us about our own souls? Why is giving in secret considered the ultimate spiritual reward? Well, our source material leaves us with this incredibly powerful defining directive: give in secret for the sake of Allah. So the crucial point is this: when we give publicly, we get an immediate worldly reward, right? We get praise, we get thanked, people think highly of us. But when we give in secret, we completely forfeit that worldly applause. And by doing that, we preserve the absolute purity of the act. The reward is transferred directly to the soul because the act was done solely for a higher spiritual purpose.
I really want to let this thought sink in for a moment. True generosity seeks no praise. The greatest deeds are often the ones that only Allah knows. This is a profound reframing of what actually makes a deed great. In our world today, a great deed is usually the one that goes viral, right? The one that everyone sees, likes, and celebrates. But this historical account argues the exact opposite. Public applause can actually diminish the profound spiritual weight of an act. The truly monumental achievements of the human soul are the ones quietly executed in the dark, known only to the divine.
So let's synthesize the ultimate takeaways from this incredible story. Here are the core lessons we need to remember. Number 1, do good sincerely. Let your motivation be pure, not transactional. Number 2, act even when no one is watching. True integrity is what you do in the dark, much like Imam Zayn al-Abidin walking those nighttime streets of Medina. And number 3, Allah rewards every hidden act of kindness. Nothing is ever truly lost. The acts that are hidden from the eyes of the world are precisely the ones that deeply and eternally reward the soul.